Hello everyone, welcome to Out of Spec Guide. I'm Max and you join me with an early look at the Kia EV9. I'm not able to drive it today, but we're in the studio with two models. We've got a base model and a much more nicer, basically fully spec'd out GT line model. Now this is a three-row electric SUV. It's taking on honestly a lot more premium competitors like the Rivian R1S, BMW iX, and others. And really it's the first on affordable three-row SUV on the market that's electric, and there's a lot of interesting things about it. So I'm going to give you a tour of it, some of the really cool new software, tech, features, and of course notable striking design of this vehicle. Basically everything I can get into today, compare it to where we expect to stack up in the market, pricing, EPA range, all of these details are still to be finalized, but we can expect a launch within the next few months basically for us in the US, and a lot of exciting details to uncover. So stick with me and stay tuned. To get started with EV9, we kind of have to start where we really do with any new Kia product, that's the design. Now, if you're familiar with the Kia EV6, you know that's a pretty striking vehicle. This adopts a lot of that design language, but brings it to be boxier, larger. It's the biggest vehicle on this platform we've seen. So this platform is actually shared with others like the Kia EV6 and Hyundai Group, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and then Genesis uses it in the Genesis GV60. But again, first three-row electric SUV we're really seeing in the mainstream market, and this brings a really interesting design. So one thing I was super curious about is that when you have a boxy design, of course it's practical, it looks cool too. You can see they've treated it with a lot of neat accents, given it this futuristic look, but that tends to come with an aerodynamic penalty. Kia have made a big deal about having a coefficient of drag here that's as low as 0.28. Now that's pretty good. For context, the Audi e-tron is about the same, and that's a much more kind of sleek looking vehicle. It's much less boxy. It has less usable space, doesn't have a third row. Frontal area, they haven't told me. I'm sure it's large. I mean, this is a large vehicle. It is wide, it is long, it's big in every dimension. So I don't think it's going to be an efficiency beast, but Kia have done what they can to make it efficient and do more with less. And on that note, we've got basically two big battery choices between these. We've got a standard battery that's similar in size to what you've seen on Kia EV6. It's like a 76 kilowatt hour, I believe that's usable capacity pack. Then there's a 99 kilowatt hour pack. What does that mean for non-nerds for range? Well, we're looking at probably 260 to 300 mile-ish kind of range, depending on which one you get. So expect if you get all-wheel drive, less range. You can actually option, which I think is cool, the big battery with a rear-wheel drive single motor. So if you do that, that's going to give you the most range. That's going to give you somewhere like 300 miles of range, maybe more. Again, EPA cycle testing, you know, all of those official numbers have yet to be released or documented yet. But that's going to be the range king. It's also, however, going to be the slowest. But this vehicle does come in configurations that can get pretty quick. So if we're looking at this base model here, this is what I believe is called the Land trim. And we're looking at rear-wheel drive, 0 to 60 speeds in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 seconds. I'll put the exact numbers on screen here. But it goes as low as 5 seconds if you get GT line. So pricing, I'm just going off what we know from other markets and speculation, nothing official yet, but I'm probably thinking somewhere approaching $60,000, mid $50,000. We'll see what Kia North America decides to do with pricing, but that's going to be for something like this. Then we're probably going to get over $70,000 for something like this. Now that may sound expensive, but when you consider its competition, you consider that it's kind of punching up against the Rivian R1S, the Mercedes EQS SUV, the BMW iX. It's offering a third row, and as I'm about to show you, a lot of standard equipment. That's actually pretty sweet. I think that's a really compelling price. Range is there. It's not a range leader, but that just goes to battery, right? Those sizes I told you, 76 kilowatt hour, 99 kilowatt hours, those are actually not super large sizes in the grand scheme of the industry. And again, that's the theme, doing more of less. They have an efficient platform, we already know because of the other vehicles we've seen using this. And these vehicles are going to be ridiculously fast chargers. They've got the same, 800-volt battery architecture. What that means is that when you pull up to a compatible station like EVgo or Electrify America that's offering you the full charging speed, you're going to get like up to 230 kilowatts. Again, for non-nerds, that means you're going to be able to charge this up from 10%, it's almost dead, to 80%. You can comfortably make it to your next stop in about like 24 minutes. considerably under half an hour. And if you road trip like I or Kyle do, then you can charge in even less time and, arrive at 0% at all your stops like we like to do. But this is overall, I think, a really appealing design. Overall, other things I want to note is if if range is a concern for you, always think about wheels. This applies to any vehicle, it applies here too. So this base one, I believe, has, we can see 20-inch wheels with a, aero treatment, of course, that helps with the range. But when you go to something like the GT line, you lose out range as opposed to speccing this out with a bigger battery because largely these wheels, these are fancy 21-inch wheels. They've got, a little bit more of a fancy treatment. Of course, you'll have these, I don't know if these are official yet, but probably some kind of OE, Hankook, some really, higher end performance tire. All of these things are cool, but they're gonna cost you range. Wheels and tires, I always say with EVs, are really big range killers. That's something to know. Before we go into inside though, I just wanna kind of treat you to the rest of the design of this vehicle. I think it's so striking. I do love my boxy cars. We've got the Volvo EX90 coming out as well, and that's also gonna share a design like this. Also similar in range, but it's probably gonna be a lot more expensive. That's just what we know based off what we know with Volvo so far, and it's yet to be released. This is coming out in the next few months, and really exciting while I show you around here, I think it's gonna be assembled in their plant in Georgia, in West Point, Georgia. Why is that good news? That means this vehicle is probably gonna be eligible for the federal tax credit, so you could get up to $7,500 as a tax credit with the purchase of this car. Again, not confirmed, nothing official yet, but that's what it seems like since they're gonna build it at that plant. I don't know exactly how they're gonna source the batteries, how it will fit into all of the requirements there, but I'm sure Kia is doing their best to basically comply with that because that could make this such an appealing competitor to, like I said, Rivian R1S, BMW iX, these other luxury vehicles that sure may be nicer in some ways, but they're gonna cost upwards of $90,000. And honestly, I think this looks better than all of them. I really, really do like this design. Before we go on the inside, I do wanna show you, they've got really distinctive headlights. Some of this is kind of adopted from the newest Kia Telluride, but of course a lot of it is their own new design language. Then you've got like Kia's Tiger nose grille, but in this case it's a Tiger face because it's digital, right? It's an EV. It doesn't need as much radiation, doesn't need as much cooling. So it's got an interesting kind of pattern of interesting headlight and DRL pattern going on there basically. Really nice design, I think. And again, I just have to say I'm so impressed that this is a 0.28, whatever, coefficient of drag. For non-nerds, that just means it's surprisingly efficient in terms of cutting through the air on highways, cruising, as you're going to be almost surely doing with this vehicle. This, I would say, unlike a Rivian, is not going to be an off-road beast. That's not really how Kia is positioning it, but do most of us actually go to canyon lands and do that? Not really, I don't. So I think if you're just hauling people, this is a people hauler, right? 3 rows, 6 or 7 people, depending on your seating configuration. That's really what most people care about, and Kia's doing it. They're delivering the goods. It looks good, it's comfortable. We're gonna see all the tech features. So that's kind of just the outside tour of it, the basic kind of specs and features. But let's get on the inside of first this model, then I'll show you what's in the nicer GT line, and we'll talk about some of the tech, software, features that are going on here as well, because I think those are also pretty interesting. For those of you interested in the cosmetic end of things, there are a choice of interior materials. They do kind of try to spice it up with not just the normal beige and dark options, but you have a cool tan interior in the higher end models. And then they make a big deal about sustainability here. A lot of recycled polyurethane, biomaterials being incorporated in that. I'm not an expert in this area, but super exciting to see. We have seen synthetic materials and vegan materials can be really comfortable. They can, of course, they're doing ventilation, but they can be durable too. Important, we've seen it in a vehicle like Rivian R1S. You're gonna be getting it dirty. Looks like these materials are very usable. I think they're gonna be very easy to clean if our experience with other synthetic materials is anything to go off of. I think these are going to be great. And then in terms of exterior colors, you have these options. These are your satin, your matte finish options, but mostly gloss options here in this spectrum running along here. I think the neutral ones are going to be safe for a lot of people, but I'm glad they're offering in some of these more exciting colors as well. All right, I'm gonna enter in on the passenger side here, and this vehicle is of course in display mode. We can't drive it today, but if you join me inside, I'm gonna close the door, and right away, wow, it's kind of quiet in here. Kia made a big deal in their presentation to me that they're using, even in the base model like this, acoustically treated glass, of course, in the windshield and on all of the windows. And that makes a big deal. Apparently, it's gonna be a fairly quiet vehicle. Then in terms of the layout, we've got this kind of minimal dash. This is sort of similar to EV6, but you can, if you're familiar with that car, this is actually slightly different. This is using updated software. It's actually going to be updatable over the air. So theoretically, more things will be able to, you'll be able to just update like a Tesla, not have to take it to a dealer. That's a good thing in my book. I'm going to turn on the map lights in here just so the interior is a little brighter. Overall, though, I'm impressed. I think this is going to be a really nice space to be in at night or in the evening. You've got lots of lights going on. Mind the warnings, these are pre-production vehicles. They always have things like this because they're in display mode. Yours will hopefully not have that if you buy it. I think pre-orders or reservations are going up around the time this video is coming out. So you can see you've got, this is a new software. This actually, to me, seems a lot better than what I've used in the existing Kia stuff, like the Kia Niro EV and the EV6. This is a nicer software experience. Like, I haven't gotten to know this too well, but right off the bat, I can tell you it's really responsive. I think it looks nicer. The map interface, okay, still not my favorite. I don't know how navigation will work. I'm sure it will have some form of battery preconditioning so that you can get the best charge and all those features. Overall, I haven't been amazed with Kia software, but it seems like it's at least improving. But I still think the Rivian or the Tesla, or like a Tesla Model X, which of course is much more expensive than this, I think those vehicles would offer more premium experience in terms of software. Even the Tesla Model Y, which obviously, doesn't really have as usable of a third row as this, but still, I think in terms of software, those are better. But, overall, I do like, unlike a Tesla Model Y, you've got this gauge screen, you've got a pretty good combination of buttons and of switches, and using the touchscreen, you've even got a separated climate menu. And Kia made a big deal about this. There is independent climate systems for the driver and the rear occupants. What that means is this vehicle can efficiently just cool the driver, or it can cool the rear occupants both. It has plenty of power to do that, but it can be efficient about it. So if you're just using the front row, it's only going to cool that. They've always been smart about that. The Kia Soul EV was one of the first EVs with heat pumps for climate control. So that just tells you this company always is thinking about efficiency in areas like that, and I appreciate it. In terms of charging, we've got, USB-C ports here, as you can expect. I think these are both USB-C. So that would be awesome, because up until now, you've only been able to use a USB-A port to plug in your phone for CarPlay. Looks like or Android Auto. Looks like you'll finally be able to do that over USB-C. But it's about time. I'm glad they're doing it. Cup holder situation here is very usable. They moved the shifter for park, reverse, neutral drive to the steering wheel. It's a little bulkier than I think it needs to be, but it exists there instead of here. And I think that's a really smart decision, because that means that this area can be more usable. And then you've got, of course, all this space here for purses, bags, whatever, in the center console, just floating design. You've got, of course, a little bit of space in there. I think this is what the key will look like, and I think that's pretty sharp. I like it. And yeah, you've got interior choices that range from this to, in the higher end trims, even a kind of a brown, which is nice. That'll match what you see in the high end Telluride. But yeah, overall, a really good front end space. But the story with this vehicle is people hauling, right? Let's look at the back. So I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going in the back seats. And so you can configure this with either what we see here, which is this kind of premium second row and then third row situation where we have 2 second row seats and then the third row. But you can configure this with a 7-seat option as well. But what I was super impressed by is the first and the second row are standard ventilated and heated. Now, if you're familiar with Telluride, that's not going to be a surprise to you, but then bringing this into EV land just kind of, in my opinion, further inflates the ridiculous value you're getting here. luxury vehicles will give you that, but again, we're talking BMW iX, Mercedes EQS. We're talking higher ownership costs. Some of those vehicles have air suspension, all kinds of complicated things going on. This vehicle is well appointed, but I think it's going to be cheaper to own, more practical, and it's still giving you all that space. And there's lots of usable space in here. They focused on giving you a vehicle that's large, but comfortable inside as a result. Because of its boxy shape, I have plenty of headroom in the second row, and if I sit in the third row, even still, I have the same amount of headroom, and not too bad leg room. Of course, second row passengers will have to move up if adults sit here, but it's way more usable than, for instance, the Tesla Model Y's third row. This is a real third row. This is not a compliance third row. This is like a proper 3-row vehicle. It's not like Kia Carnival size. It's not a minivan, but it is absolutely a 6 or 7-seater comfortably, and I do like that. And then I think dimensions-wise, I'll put some specs here, but if I recall, it's like 20 feet of trunk space there, 20 cubic feet. That expands to 80 feet if we were to fold these third and second row seats down. So just like a Rivian R1S, just like other boxy, cars like the Volvo EX90 coming out, you're going to be able to fit a lot of stuff in here, whether it's people or things. So that's all nice. One other thing I want to comment on the interior that I like a lot, you fold this thing out and then you've got a drawer space that is like a tray. You could put food on here, you eat off it. It's a really cool idea. I think that's super smart to have this expandable section here. So that's cool. And then of course you've got deep storage down there. So very flexible. Then you even have more cup holders for rear passengers, more USB-C ports. Again, I'm so glad to see them going all in on USB-C. It's about time. Kia and Hyundai were kind of slow to that before. But super nice. And then, like I said, heated, ventilated, all this standard, so nice. And then even massaging. I mean, I've yet to try this, but apparently it's supposed to be super comfortable, and I believe it. This is really kind of bringing that luxury segment into a more mainstream price, and I think that's great. But let's take a look at the trunk. I'm going to pop open the lift gate here. I'm not sure if there's a kick sensor here, but I'll just use the manual release button. Of course, it's a power lift gate, as you'd expect in a vehicle of this more premium but not luxury price bracket. What do we got here? Is this a... Okay, that's just the trunk option. I believe there's vehicle to load on this. Yep, so we've got a 120 volt outlet. Technically it's 125 volts nominal, 15 amps, so you could power all kinds of things there. And then I think you'll be able to use their interesting adapter situation as well if you wanted to charge the vehicle. I might have to unlock this from inside. I think it's power operated. Nope, it's just manual. Okay, nice. But yeah, you've got, of course, your CCS port right there for charging. Fast charging speeds on this vehicle. Again, love to see it. And yeah, you can use their adapter to get another 110 volt outlet if you're camping. That way you could power 2 kind of higher power appliances. Nothing too fancy, nothing like, the F-150 Lightning's Pro Power or the Silverado EV, but for, I think, most normal people, this is plenty. It's similar to the Rivian. Not quite as many outlets, but it's enough. I think 2 is perfectly usable. And of course, you have plenty of those USB-C ports. By the way, this taillight design, super cool. But yeah, this is the base interior, I should mention. This is going to be in like a $60-ish thousand, maybe even slightly cheaper vehicle. Everything I just showed you, that is super impressive. I'm honestly really impressed by that. Looks like this is sort of power operated, by the way. You have to press this and then it's going to close nicely. So I'll let that actuator do its job. And then we'll close the trunk and let's go into the more premium one, the GT line. So probably expecting something like $70,000-ish pricing, maybe a little bit more if you add all the options in. But right away, design-wise, you get some more exciting colors here. So this, I should mention, has been a matte gray, kind of a satin finish. It's interesting. I don't know about it. Tell me what you think. It may not appear super well on camera, but I think it's really interesting. If it's anything like the Ioniq 5, some of its colors, I don't know if you'll want to take the satin ones through a car wash, especially a brushed car wash. But any kind of car wash really, with spraying high pressure on that, just be careful with those kinds of paint. But if you get a more traditional glossy paint, one of the options is this really cool ocean blue paint here. And man, that evolution of the headlight design is really cool, where you see just, that kind of additional DRL pattern just expanding into the body color, super nice. Then you've got your other premium accents, more kind of blacked out things, some body matching elements. Overall, it's just a more premium look, as you would expect by paying more. What else do we get? Well, join me in the driver's seat and I'll show you in the interior. So in terms of power, you're getting right, of course, this is a dual motor model, so 5 seconds 0 to 60 is much faster, up to 516 pound-feet of torque, 379 horsepower. That one over there, right, is 200 horsepower, 201 to 215 horsepower. Still plenty. It's going to move to like, in 0 to 60 in less than 8 seconds, but this is going to be faster still. It has just a basically upgraded set of interior material, some more choices. I believe you have a digital rear view mirror standard in all of these, so this is going to be in everything. And right now we can't use it because it's not drivable, but this is, nice high-end feature. Love to see that. And then you've got this nice sunroof situation. So you've got a moonroof here, and then you've got another one for your passengers that's pretty large. So I think this is a good balance between having the usable, buttons in the ceiling, I'll show you, with that separate climate zone, but also having this be ventable. I believe it's ventable. Yep, ventable. Love it. Ventable, and the panoramic one in the back. Great balance of features there. These seats have all of these functions, of course, with the massaging. They want this to be a super comfortable kind of highway cruiser, mile muncher, and that's exactly what it's going to be. Also, I gotta mention, I really love these backlight kind of accents here in this GT line model. Really does give the vehicle a premium mood, and this blue, I don't know if it's intentional, but it seems to match the exterior color really, really well. Then if I go in the back here, we're gonna see similarly, of course, another well-appointed interior, these power kind of captain's second row seats here, and then the similar third row in the back. By the way, I should mention USB-C charging ports and cup holders, of course, for rear passengers. All of those do exist. And then the separate climate menu, basically separate climate system for the rear passengers, independently controlled, full fan speed and temperature adjustment. All very nice. So overall, it seems like they're really differentiating this based off the powertrains, the batteries, what you're getting in that regard, and of course, some of the fascia cosmetic elements. But what I'm impressed by is that the comfort, the interior, of course, the battery architecture giving you the cool charging, all of this really high-tech stuff, it's just standard. I can get in that one. And this one is just a nicer one, has some nicer, basically, drivetrain options. It's going to be quicker. It's going to have the all-wheel drive, and being the US market, I'm sure most people will want to opt for the all-wheel drive, whether or not they need it. But if you care at all about range and you live in like Florida and it never snows, just get the rear-wheel drive one, and maybe upgrade the battery if you want the most range. I think that's going to be an interesting option. It's cool to let you do that because Rivian R1S, dual motor only. I believe it's a similar story for a lot of the other luxury vehicles. I know the EX90 is going to be similar, so giving you the option of the big battery and rear-wheel drive I think is nice. Good kind of value option there, and just for packaging I think it's smart. It basically lets them have the big battery, rear-wheel drive motor, all that. But yeah, really impressed with everything I'm seeing. But EV9 pricing and range are still to be determined with those exact details. But recap here, we've got a $56,000-ish, probably mid $50,000 to $60,000 vehicle with that 200 horsepower motor and the great charging capability, great usability, decent range, great charging, great interior and great comfort. Only gets better with the all-wheel drive and the faster performance of this one. Neither of these are going to be great off-road. Neither of these are going to be the quickest SUVs, but they both, they offer all this space, and that's what EV9 seems to be doing. It's giving you space, it's giving you comfort, it's giving you technology as well. I should mention all these are going to have basically the latest suite of course, Highway Driving Assist 2. So that's the lane changes, the adaptive cruise control, all those systems that work pretty well that Kia uses. So that's included here. It's included on everything. You get it on that and that. But you're also going to have the smart key, so you can use your phone as a key. There's a fingerprint sensor somewhere in the interior. So there's all kinds of kind of advanced technology and features going on here. And I think they're doing a decent job. I still would, I think, prefer the software in like a Tesla or Rivian. And then, of course, the Rivian R1S would give you more advanced, basically, versatility for off-road driving. But this is going to be fine for most situations. It's going to be really comfortable on the highway. They seem to have optimized the suspension for that. It still has like almost 8 inches of ground clearance. So perfectly usable on the everyday, whether it's the suburbs or driving to trailheads or just mile munching on the highway. I'm really, really excited by this. I can't wait for more details to come out. When we're able to drive one, then we'll either do that on this channel or in spec reviews. But of course, we will have content for you on that. If you have other questions, do let me know in the comments. But I'm just curious, do you think, is this really just a more affordable R1S? I think for most people it is. It's in some ways also just better. I really like the design a lot. I actually prefer it to the R1S. And then in terms of usability, I'm just so impressed with all of those base features. Shouldn't be a surprise coming over from the company that, did the Telluride and, has a whole lineup for everything from Sorento up, just of great crossovers, SUVs. Shouldn't be surprising that they're doing this, but I'm glad that they are. And boy, I like the EV9 a lot. So that's been it for this video. Let me know about those questions you have, if there are any, and then which one would you pick too? Because there's some fun interior options, but really I'm interested in this glossy blue color. I like it a lot. I've been Max without a spec guide. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.